Happy Orville. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. And welcome to. That's right. We're all the way from up here in Indiana. I'm going down under. Through the tubes of the internet. With the help of Reddit.com. To see what happened in Australia this week. I'm hyped. Let's do it. Top post. Can we make this happen? This would actually be pretty dope. At first, I thought I was looking at like a bunch of different countries. Like, oh wait, that is Italy. That is what I'm looking at, huh? And Greece. Oh, wow. Okay, that is what I'm looking at. A bunch of different countries put together. Well, I'm not exactly sure exactly what I'm looking at, but this sure would be an interesting place to live, huh? There'd be a lot more coastal real estate. It would suck for the people that lived out here in the middle, though. All 35 people that live out here where the water is. Oh, you can't see my cursor. Hold on. These people, all 15 people that live out here would have to find somewhere else to live. But, and also the golf course. Isn't there a golf course out here that goes like from here to here? Yeah, but this is interesting. I'm curious what the comments say. Ah, yes, a property developer's wet dream. This is what they dream about, I bet. To double the amount of coastal properties. And Canberra still makes the beach. Shake my head. I'll live in Clive Palmer. He's an ideas man. Oh, I'll call Clive Palmer. Who's that? An Australian businessman. Yes, grab a bucket, do a return trip to the Europe Mediterranean. Back at middle of Australia. Pour it. Repeat. That could work. You'd have to fight the evaporation. But if you were quick enough and had a big enough bucket, I think that would work. Cockatoos in Australia living up to their reputation as punks. Seen biting and stealing food from kangaroos. Many times their size. That would be interesting if there was a cockatoo the size of a kangaroo. That would be terrifying. Hold on.
The biting of the kangaroo tails is something that happens almost every day.
I hate you, cockatoos.
There's a wild group of cockatoos that live around this property. And they are troublemakers, so they'll bite a kangaroo tail to get to the kangaroo feed. They definitely think they're the boss of everything.
Look, he's chasing after her.
They will bite any tail. I've seen them bite tails of little joeys.
I'm waiting to see a kangaroo do a drop kick on one of these cockatoos.
And big kangaroos. Whoever's kind of in their way, they have no fear.
You're a nasty
They have
bird.
no fear. Someone needs to teach them a lesson. Imagine being that small and that arrogant.
Wild Free is essentially a kangaroo sanctuary. We care for all kinds of animals, but predominantly we focus on kangaroos because there's not a lot of places that are safe to release them if they've been orphaned. Got about 40 or so cockatoos themselves for a job well done and a well-executed plan.
Don't you dare.
Ouch. I'm wondering if this is so common, if any of the kangaroos here have tails that are like all scarred up from being bitten by these little shits so many times. That's so funny though, seeing it looks like, I get that they're on one hand trying to steal food, but it looks like most of the time they're just messing with them, like they're just trying to piss them off. And I know a lot of people that act that way too, you know, I guess that's just in our nature. It's crazy. Why is it still illegal to sell takeaway alcohol? What is takeaway alcohol? What does that mean? As opposed to like alcohol in a bar. So you can still go to a bar on Easter. But to sell takeaway alcohol on Easter when less than half of Australians' population is Christian. Less than half of Australia is Christian. That's an interesting little factoid. You know, I had the same exact thought when I first moved here to Indiana. It was illegal to purchase alcohol on Sunday. Which is crazy to me. Crazy to me. Just... You know, what happened to the whole, like, separation of church and state thing? How is that a law? Because it's, like, a Christian thing. And it's like, what? How is that a law? But they actually repealed that or something here in Indiana. So I'm surprised they're still doing that. I don't know about Easter, though. I've never heard of that. You can't buy alcohol on Easter. There's a bottle-oo in my town that's open Good Friday in the morning of Anzac Day. According to the owner, the license to trade on these days is super expensive, so most places close. He's the only one open, so he makes a killing. I don't know what Anzac Day is, although it sounds weirdly familiar. National Day of Remembrance in Australia that broadly commemorates. Oh, yes. It's like a Veterans Day. Okay, I knew that. It's illegal at Easter. Today at age 45, I learned something. I learned I must never have attempted to buy alcohol on this particular day. Huh. You know, I might have to test it. Maybe it's illegal here in Indiana, too. I wouldn't be surprised. I'll have to try and buy some alcohol here tomorrow. The age of AI customer service bots. Oh, joy. Was this helpful? I've checked the restrictions already, and that is not relevant. I didn't get that. Try rephrasing your question. You have suggested that it could be about the restrictions, but I'm telling you that it's not. I'm sorry. I don't comprehend. Can you please rephrase your question? Is there a human I can talk to? Apologies, but I don't get that. Could you please rephrase your question? Yeah, these things suck. I'm waiting for the day that they're actually good. That will actually be a miracle. The day I don't have to deal with any customer service rep, who honestly is usually not even that much more helpful than this right here. But now you're having to deal with something even worse, the totally incompetent AI bot. But the day that we have AI bots that actually are helpful, I don't see why that's so hard to build. I mean, I feel like the technology is there. They could do it. But the day that those are prominent, that might actually be a good day. That might actually help out a lot. And I'm never going to have to sit on the phone for an hour again, waiting for someone who has no idea what they're talking about, doesn't even work at the company I'm trying to get a hold of. They're just hired. They're not even in the same country. I don't know if that's how it is. I'm sure it is. I'm sure that's how it is over there in Australia, too. Yeah. You know, I'm going to take this post right here. This just reminded me, once again, guys, there's a lot of scammers down in my comments. I don't know why. Of all channels, why my little channel about Australia? Why are people trying to scam my comments? It's all over YouTube, though. If I tell you you want, well, not me. If some account that looks like me says, you know, contact me on Telegram, it ain't me. Don't do it. I'll let you guys know if I'm trying to do a giveaway or something. Sadly, with all the scams, that would actually be really hard to do because people wouldn't know if it was real or not. This post is talking about, I think it's like, you know, the sophistication of scams, which are absolutely getting out of control with AI. Talking about AI again. You know, the scammers are a lot better than the customer service bots. The scammers have figured out how to use AI to where they will sound authentic, and you won't even know you're talking to a robot. Highly disturbing. Oh my God, guys. This is what I was hoping to find. An update to the Busk Gate. I guess that's him. I guess that, I mean, it better be him. Honestly, I feel bad, saying avoid this guy because I can't confirm whether that's him, but apparently that's him. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'd have to go watch last week's This Week in Australia. But this dude was trying to kick out another busker saying, she stole his spot and all this crap. Oh, look, he's running away. He's been spotted. My sister and her friends were buskers. I asked for their input. They said this guy just goes to the waiting area and then starts setting up after someone finishes. He never books slots or anything. He just does this. He got chased out of Melbourne because artists didn't tolerate his BS. As a Melburnian, I feel proud reading this. That is very satisfying to get an update on the Busk Gate. I look forward to any more updates. And of course, an inflation post, which honestly have been getting less and less prominent, which is a good sign. You know what I mean? You don't actually need to read the numbers about inflation. You can just go to the Australian subreddit and see how many posts there are each week about it. But alas, we've got one. Specifically, Shrinkflation. Shrinkflation by Cadbury. Look at that. Look at that nougat. Shrunk almost in half. And look at that. A 10-piece for, what is this, 10 cents? I guess so. That's a C, right? For scale. Except I don't know how big that coin is, so it doesn't help me much. But you know what the real scam is? The wrapper is the same size. That's the scam. If you're going to shrink the bar, you got to shrink the wrapper too. As an American, reading about any other country's healthcare systems and issues is always pretty fascinating, considering the plethora that plague my country. PSA, paying private health insurance, because you guys have that option to like add on to your health insurance, right? Doesn't guarantee you a private room. Yeah, I don't think that's not what the word private. Imagine people are out there buying private health insurance like, hey, yeah, I want a private room, so I'm going to have to buy the private health insurance. It doesn't guarantee you a private room when you go to a private hospital. Even if you say you want a private room, this does not guarantee it. Getting angry at nurses because you think the reason you don't have a private room is because they just don't understand how much private health insurance you pay doesn't change things. We cannot magically create a private room. The other kind of fascinating thing about this is here in America, they're pretty much our only private rooms. Now, there are exceptions. Some rooms have 2 people in it. But most commonly, and in like an emergency scenario, then they might start filling up, the hallways even with patients, and you're not going to get a private room and other areas of the hospital. But for the most part, under normal scenario, you'll get a private room. You might have to wait hours for one to open up. But if you're staying in the hospital, you're probably going to get a private room. So I'm kind of wondering what this is referring to. Like, how many people are in these non-private rooms? I've seen photos from, like, I think British hospitals where it looked like there were, like, 6 people in a room with, like, a curtain. It's sort of interesting. I think that would be kind of fun. It would, a little bit of camaraderie among my sick friends. Hey, what happened to you? What's going on with you, man? It could be fun. But that's interesting. You had one of those shifts, huh? Now, see what I was saying about the wrapper around the Cadbury? This is way more egregious. Because this isn't even a soft wrapper, You can't really tell how many chips are in there unless you're shaking it up and down to see how many chips are in your can. WTF Pringles, there's about 10 centimeters of height of emptiness. 10 centimeters of height of emptiness. There's something funny about that. Okay. No wonder most of my chips were broken. And that goes against the entire, thesis behind creating Pringles. To put them in a can stacked up where they're not going to break. Although, of course, the other thesis behind Pringles is that they scrape up all the extra little potato crumbs off the ground in the potato chip factory, and then, they squish them together like plywood and form a perfectly new chip. I think they taste amazing, so I'm not complaining or anything. I still eat Pringles. But yeah, the whole idea is that they're not going to break because they're stacked in a can. So this is pretty egregious, and I am outraged. If Bunnings was open on Good Friday, I genuinely believe it would be Bunnings' most profitable day of the year. I think Bunnings is like a Home Depot type thing. I have a day off. I like how I'm telling you guys that as if, you guys know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's like a Home Depot thing. I have a day off. Well, do you guys even know what Home Depot is? I just realized. Let's see what Bunnings is. DIY. There you go. Hardware store. I have a day off early enough in the year that the weather is nice. Very little else is open. It leaves me at home looking around for jobs to do. I identify a bunch of potential projects and jobs, but Bunnings is closed, so the jobs don't get off the ground. I am 6 million Australian adults. Well, the problem with this idea is that if Bunnings was open on Good Friday, then however many adults work at Bunnings wouldn't be off that day. So it wouldn't be 6 million Australian adults. It would only be 5,890,000 Australian adults. But it would also suck for those Bunnings people. You know what I mean? Let them have a day off. Let them have a day off, for God's sake. Yep, a 4-day week is a great opportunity to tackle a project. Need to be prepared and get materials early. I could go either way. But for the sake, I'm going to stand up for you guys, Bunnings employees out there. Let them take the day off, folks. I don't know how I had never heard of this Magpie, but apparently it's a famous magpie on Instagram. But no more, because authorities has seized the Instagram famous Magpie, ending its friendship with English Staffy. Oh my God, this is how I find out? I would have reacted to this Magpie on Instagram, but I didn't know he existed. A veteran wildlife carer says authorities endangered the life of a magpie by failing to act on its unlikely pairing with an English Staffy. That came to an end when Molly was voluntarily surrendered to the Department of Environment earlier this month. The department said the magpie was taken from the wild and kept unlawfully with no permit, license, or authority. Yes, this is a crime of the highest degree. Look at that magpie suffering. Seize it so it can attack cyclists in nature like God intended. How did this even happen to an Australian note? You guys make them out of indestructible polymer. Is this still legal tender? Interesting question. Here in America, at least, it would be because it's the majority of the bill. I think that's, well, is that the majority of the bill? I'm not sure. I guess it got burned, huh? Ooh, that's actually close. Is that, well, what I'm saying is here in America, if you have more than half the bill, it's illegal. Which actually makes sense because you know. That way you can't cut up a $20 bill and have two $20 bills. You can only use the bigger one. If between 20 and 80% of the cent, I'm sorry, guys, I'm being dyslexic today. If between 20 and 80% of the banknote is missing, value is paid in proportion with the percentage remaining? You're telling me that you could make change in Australia by taking a note and say you need a $2, say you have a $10 note and you need $3 change. You just cut off a third of it or 30% of it, and that part becomes worth $3? This is amazing. That is truly fascinating, folks. I'm going to try that. That's it for this week, guys, because we're at 21 minutes. I'm going to try to get this out of here without playing. Here we go. There we go. I did it. I didn't play the intro video again. Dude, this week in Australia is over. I don't know why I wanted to do that. Have a fantastic weekend. Have a great Easter. Congrats to those Bunnings employees who got the day off. And I'll see you guys next week.